Well, hello there, everyone, and thank you for joining me one more time for a session at DynamicsCon here in 2022. Can you believe it? It's almost spring. You can kind of feel it in the air, at least here in South Carolina where I am. It's almost 80 degrees today, which is really, really great, at least for me. I want to thank you again for voting for my session for this wave of DynamicsCon. I love this conference. And I love sharing things that I get to discover throughout the space in Business Central with you. And today we're going to talk about 10 free extensions from AppSource. But before we get started, just a little bit about myself. So my name is Shawn Dorward. If you're not familiar, I am a Microsoft MVP. I'm the practice director at SA Global, formerly known as Dynamic Consulting. We merged with SA Global here just at the beginning of this year. Feel free to check out our website, follow me on Twitter, all the good social things, like things, my personal blog site, LifeHacks365.com. Be sure to follow that for all cool things, Business Central, Dynamics GP, Power BI, Excel. There's a great write-up out there on Excel. It gets a lot of feedback. Check that out as well on how to automatically highlight a row. A little bit more about me. I am a practice director at SA Global, so I support and service our SMB team, the Business Central group and the Dynamics GP group. I work alongside some great talent there. Let's go ahead and get started because I think you're here to learn about extensions and some cool ones. So let's go ahead and do that. So a couple things to set the stage here for our time in this session. First, I looked at all of the apps out there in AppSource. There are a lot, which is really cool. But I wanted to find free ones, not free trial ones. So what you're going to see today are truly free. And there are many more out there, and there are many free trials as well, but these are just free. And these aren't things that I just grabbed and didn't try. We're going to look at them today. And I think these are pretty cool. They may work for you, they may not, but I wanted to share them with you. So this is, just to be clear, not the only 10. There are many more, but these are 10. So if you're not on the list, don't feel offended. I didn't do this in any kind of order, except I wanted to have a good balance of what functionality the folks here at DynamicsCon might appreciate. A little bit of a disclaimer. I'm not really endorsing a particular company necessarily. I'm not endorsing them either. I'm here just saying these are free and these are pretty helpful. Maybe you should check them out. We're going to talk about how to get those extensions and also what extensions and learn how to find out what extensions you have in your system. Because if you're curious, what is core versus what is extension, I'm going to show you how to do that too. So let's get into it. So first off, extensions. So extensions, if you want to know how you see your extensions, I'm going to jump over into Business Central. So let's go ahead and search for extension management. Extension management. There we go. Good job, Shawn. And we're going to search for that. Now, I'm going to open up extension management. Now, keep in mind, you have to have access to this window. So if it doesn't return, maybe you misspelled it, but the search is pretty good there. This is a list of all the extensions in your environment. Not just the company, keep that in mind. So as you install an extension, it works for all the companies in that environment. So you want to be sure as you try them out, bing, do this in a sandbox, right? You want to make sure you're not disrupting production. Here's a list of all of the extensions, a little bit of a sneak peek at some of them that we're going to talk about today. But what we can do from here is we go to more actions, manage, and we're going to go to extension marketplace. This is where you search for extensions. You can also go to AppSource directly out on the web. Now, this can get a little confusing because there are a lot of things out there to check on. And it's a little, admittedly, it's a little difficult to find exactly what you're looking for. So if you have a problem and you're trying to solve it, check out my hook while the DJ revolves it kind of thing, then you can search for it, but you might have a little hard time. One of your best bets, though, is to check with the community, like Doug here with DynamicsCon. So be sure to check out the forums and ask the questions, and maybe people have used an extension that can solve your problem already. So check that out. Okay, so that's how you look for an extension. Now, I went through these and found 10 count them, 10 free extensions we're going to walk through today. So what else did I promise in our PowerPoint? I showed how we're going to get it. I wanted to make sure that you're aware that these are by environment, not by company. That's critical. So let's go ahead and jump into the first one here. This is Excel journal import. Now, you may have used configuration packages before. You may have used Excel's copy and paste or the interoperability with Excel to copy from Excel and paste into the journal entry. That works, and I'm not here to diss that, that's for sure, but this works better. And we're going to take a look at Excel journal import. Now, each one of these extensions, I've gone ahead, and you'll get this slide deck. I've gone ahead and I put a link to the actual extension out on AppSource, which should make it nice and easy for you to find it, right? So if you like it, you could try it, go to your sandbox and install it. Also, where applicable, I've also included a link to the manual. Most of them had a manual. Some of them had like a fact sheet. And the reason I did that was because when I first went into the marketplace, I felt a little alone when I installed these extensions until I realized that there was a page that had the actual manual. So I'm going to click this link here in our PowerPoint. We're going to go over into the web browser, and here is the Excel journal import. Now, as you search for these, you can see some information here down our screen that is talking about what this is. Notice its pricing is free. And I can click on details and support, and right here is the user guide, but don't worry, it's on that slide deck as well. So in order to install this, you have to, 1, be logged into the environment. 2, have access, security access. Not everybody can, and not everybody should be able to install extensions. In a sandbox, sure, that's fine. But let's go ahead and get this now. Now, I've already installed it in my environment because that does take a minute or two to install. Not too long, actually, but for the purpose of this recording, I went ahead and did it early. So let's open Excel, and I'm going to open up my journal entry. Now, in this particular journal entry file, like most true accountants, we love and live in Excel. I've got 2 tabs, monthly and default, as you can see down here at the bottom. And I've also got a blank. And I'm going to talk about that blank in a minute. You might be able to figure that out before we get there. But very simply, all these columns, as long as the column header matches in Excel to what the column is in Business Central, it will bring it in. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to close it. Notice I have this in here. I can do all the Excel coolness, drag and drop and use formulas. And I'm going to close my file. And I'm going to go over into Business Central. So now here in Business Central for this particular extension, I'm going to go into my my general journals. And now my general journals, I've got 2 batches. I've got default and monthly. Let's open up default. And I've got nothing in here. Now I can key these in. I can copy and paste from Excel, but let's just go to process and import from Excel. This is that extension, that free extension. I'm going to tell it the template name. The batch in particular is very important because that's where these entry lines are going to hit. I'm going to put this in default. And then I'm going to pick my file. I'm going to choose it. I have mine on my desktop. There's my file. What's great about this, I'm going to tell it which tab, right? I want my default. Did I do default? I did default. Good job, Shawn. Woo-hoo. I want the tab called default. And then notice now I have 1 file and multiple tabs, which is really where we're going with the coolness of this. I can add new imported lines to existing entries, or I can delete existing lines in that batch. Let's say it's a recurring batch. We posted it for last month. We're going to start over. Our system of truth in this case for journal entries is Excel. So we're going to delete existing lines, and I'm going to say, okay. Just like that, I've got 12. That was not recording magic. It was that fast. It was like, boom, here it is. Now, let's say I get it in here and I realize, oh, I made a mistake. Now I can delete some of these. This is just regular Business Central. I don't have to worry about this. If you've ever suffered with this like I do, like highlighting these and then holding the shift down to delete or whatever it is, to get rid of certain lines. Sometimes it deletes 1 line. Sometimes it deletes all the lines. No worries. Let's think of this a different way. I'm going to go into process, import my Excel. Because I have this delete existing line down here, that clears out the batch. But I can also do something that I find pretty nice. I can go ahead and clean up my batch by just using a blank template. And it gets rid of everything. So now if I say, okay, I want to just free key this in there, I can do that. That's pretty cool. I hope you like that. That's free. That's Excel import, Excel journal import. Incidentally, it's also available from the batch window. So we could go to process and import from Excel. The reason for that is because, as you can see on the screen, you can designate the batch. So even if I was in default here and I imported this, but I selected monthly, it would go into the monthly batch, if that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if you like that, if you think that's cool. It's free. Pretty cool. I like it. Okay, so a little bit of a screenshot there for you. Next up on our list is bulk emailing customers or vendors. Again, the link to AppSource here, I'm going to go ahead and click that. Same exact situation, right? And information about the extension. We're not going to do this for everyone. You could determine if you like it or not. What's great about some of these extensions is folks are putting videos along with this so that you can see it in action, or maybe hear a little bit of the sales pitch or the elevator pitch for it, which I watched all these to kind of figure out which ones were going to be great to show today. But let's talk about this one. And this one is bulk emailing customers or vendors. So I'm going to just do this with customers. And I'm going to go into customers. Now, I've only got a few customers in here in good old Cronus USA. And I'm going to select, if I just highlight one customer and I go to, let's see if I can remember where it is. There we go. Go to process and then send email. This is going to let me send an email to this one customer. But if I select this and I pick these other 3 customers and I go to process, you notice send email is no longer available. This extension, free in the AppSource, is going to get us the ability to do that. It's under actions, email, and send email. A little bit of a couple steps. Let's see. There we go. And now it's opened up an Outlook new message with those email addresses in the to line. You probably don't want to do that. You probably want to just copy them out of the to line and put them in the BCC line. So if you're sending some kind of bulk communication, whoops, my colleague Andy there almost got junk mail, bulk communication, I would probably put it in the BCC line, but no different to me what you choose, but just know that that's a possibility. It's not going to compose the email for us. We have to type it out and put all the niceties in there that we need to. Very cool. At the right price, free app in AppSource for Business Central. That one is pretty cool. What do you think of that? You like that in the chat? Too risky to send bulk emails to customers? Maybe you forget to change it from the to, and now your customers know who our other customers are. I don't know. Seems harmless, but definitely beneficial. Another good use case might be you have a collection of vendors you need to send and request updated W-9s for, and it's more of a generic email, so you can grab everybody from there. Pretty cool. Let's move on. Okay, so a screenshot there just showing as a reminder. I like to put the actual action in the screenshot so that when you see these, you know how to get there. Honestly, this one was a little buried, but still, for how infrequently you might use this, it's not bad at all. Okay, so next on our list, number 3, I think, is required fields. Now, this is something that's a little interesting. It's called mandatory fields in Business Central, but it's got a lot of other kind of things you could do with it, like setting conditions for values in fields. And you could do this with the extension without coding. Now, one thing that I did notice about this is after I set something to be mandatory, it really was just giving me a warning. It really wasn't enforcing like that I couldn't save the record, which also is sort of the case for some of the required fields throughout Business Central, but at least you get a pop-up, which I think is helpful. So let's take a look at required fields. This is searchable by mandatory. So I'm going to search for mandatory field. Mandatory field setup list. Now, when we get in here, I've already been playing with this a little bit, as you can see. I'm going to go into customer. And right here in customer, I've got some already set up. So let's look at tax registration number. Tax registration number set as a required field. All you have to do is pick the field ID. You click the 3 dots and it gives you a list of all of the fields. available on this master record. So you don't have to know the number, you just have to search for it. Don't forget that little search is up here on all these list windows. So I've got mine set for tax registration number. Let's go ahead and go into the customer field and see if that worked. Okay, great. So like I said, let's go look at the customer list. And here we are from our experiment with the email before. Here's our customer list. We're going to go into our first customer. And if I look at tax registration number here, I'm going to slide down the tax registration number, see that it's blank. If I put something in there and then exit, I don't get a pop-up. But if I take that out and I exit, which is the same as saving the record, we'll take that out and head back. You see, I get this pop-up telling me, hey, you told me this was a mandatory field. Now, maybe the name is a little misleading, depends on how you define mandatory, right? But at least it's telling you, and I think that's helpful. It certainly is going to help folks who are keying in these master records. Maybe that's important to you on the address level, tax registration. Maybe you always want to capture an email address. This is great, and it is free. So that is mandatory fields, or required fields as I have it identified here. It does a bit more, like I said, those conditional things. So check out the manual and watch the video and get it set up and tested in your sandbox. You can also use the assisted setup for this, which really just took us to the same mandatory field setup list. All right, next up is electronic signature. This one you're gonna love, or at least I love, and this is 100% free. So the scenario here is I have checks in Business Central that I want to print, and I want to have signatures, electronic signatures, automatically placed on the check based on thresholds. So maybe in our case today, we're going to talk about if it's under 10,000, I have one signer, over 10,000, I have two signers, and I want those to print electronically. And you can even go one step further and say if it's over an even higher dollar amount, let's say maybe 50,000, you want no signatures to print and actually has to be pen on paper signed. This is brought to us by McCorma out in the App Stores. I love this. Their videos are great, super intuitive, and it was very easy for me to set up. So let's jump over into Business Central, and I'm going to search for McCorma. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to upload the signatures. Now, the resolution of the signature is dictated by McCorma and some Business Central restrictions, plus the check itself. So be sure to check the manual on what the actual resolution is for that. But basically all we do is we give it an ID, a description, and then you upload or import the signature. Now I just used something silly here, raising a hand from Teams. That is what I'm going to put in as signature 1. And I also have another signature that I'm going to go ahead and set up. That maybe is like my super signer, my extra signer, and I'll call this second signature with that good looking fella there. Now, naturally, those are not the right aspect ratios for the signature file. You have to upload the proper signature file. But once we do that, we're going to search again for McCorma, and we're going to go to threshold list. Now, this is where you define what is going to happen based on certain dollar amounts, right? So when I said a minute ago, we got to go into details. When I said a minute ago, up to $10,000. So I have that in here from $0 up to 99999. Use signature 1 and print it on the signature line 1. And then here I have from 10,000 all the way up to whatever. Use signature line 1, signature image 1 on signature line 1, and signature image 2 on signature line 2. Now that is what is going to happen when the check is printed. So what I want to make sure you're aware of is that there's another element to this that you have to take advantage of, and that is workflow within Business Central. So if I just print a check, it's going to put those signatures on there if I have the authority to print the check. But if we use workflow and use the workflow for these same dollar amounts, problem solved. So now we have an internal workflow for electronic signature control. How awesome is that? There are one or two other quick little steps that you have to do, which is using the McCorma specific check layout. So we're going to go to bank report selection. We'll let that search for a second. There we go. Bank selection. switch it to check, and then choose the proper report ID from McCormick. They have 4. I think it's 4. Let's look at the slide. I think it's 4 different layouts: stub, check, stub. You get it. In this case, I use stub, check. So really that easy, very, very powerful. Honestly, one of my favorites. So let's go and see what do you think of that? Let me know in the chat if you think that's helpful, or maybe you're already using that. Maybe you're using a paid version of that from someone else and you didn't know there was a free version. Let's chat about that. And if you have questions about any of these so far, save them till the end, or put them in the chat box, and we'll try to aggregate them and try to answer them at the end of the session here. So thanks for following along. Let's get into the next one. I forget what number we're on. I probably should have put on the slides. So here's another example. I really like this. This is direct from AppSource. I think it was a screenshot that McCormick put out there. So here you are, the same exact thing we just talked about, but maybe, we have multiple thresholds here. So very helpful, easy to configure, and away we go. Okay, next up, number 5, I don't know. Find and replace. So find and replace is a free extension that you can leverage in your Business Central environment to do exactly that. Search records for a certain value in a certain field and replace it with something else. Now, that's pretty cool. Let's talk about a quick example here. So this is the list of the integrations: customer, vendor, contact. You can read the rest. Very, very helpful. Let's go into Business Central and check out one of our customers here, just to show you a little bit of how this works. Free. So here in my customer card, I have an email address, and this is my email address. Now, as I mentioned earlier, my company was recently merged with SA Global. So now I have a new email address, and I want to call up to someone and say, I need you to switch my email address. But in this case, if I go to the next customer, I've got it there as well. Now that's maybe not the greatest example, but I wanted to come up with something that was easy with the limited data in here. So I need to switch that from this email address to my new email address. And although it will be really easy to do for those two, please follow along. Let's go and we'll go to process, find and replace. And I'm going to say the field is, help me out here, email. I'm just going to search for it. 102. Some of you may have known that. I didn't know that. Search for, we're going to search for my old email address and replace it with my new email address. Whoops, if I could spell. Notice down here in the options, we could do whole field or any part of field. The same kind of things that we love about find and replace over in Excel. I'm going to go ahead and say whole field. I'm not worried about case sensitive, and I'm not going to validate this. I'm just going to say, hey, if it matches, replace it. So I'm going to do that. Do you really want to do it? Do you really want to do it? Yeah, I do. There we go. I got a warning because I don't have that tax registration set up. And 2 records were updated in this little example. So let's jump in there and just take a look and make sure, in fact, it was. And there you have it. And there you have it. The email address was replaced. That's really cool. Pretty helpful. What other use cases can you think of? And let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear some ideas. There's got to be times where you had to go change things a lot of different places. And this find and replace may just save you hours of time, giving you the chance to take a longer lunch. All right, let's look at what's next. Incoming delivery dashboard. Okay, this one is really cool. I've actually had customers ask me about this, and I've actually have built one of these before. And here it is, free in the App Store. In the App Source, I guess, don't say App Store, App Source, incoming delivery dashboard. Basically, it's giving you the ability to look at all the line items in all of your documents, orders, quotes, invoices, credit memos, etc., and see them on a single view, and even let you export to Excel. Let's take a look. It's real hard to find. I'm just going to search for dashboard. Incoming delivery dashboard. Real easy, right? I even saved it to my home screen by using the bookmark. Let's open this up. So here in my test database, not very much in here, but look at all these filters we can use. I'm going to switch this to invoices and I'm going to go to open. And as soon as I do that, now it looks like at first that nothing is being returned, but we have to update the line. That's what's doing the refresh. It's requeuing, going back out to the system, pulling in all the information. Look at that. Now I can see what my demand is. I can see my expected receipt date for these. I can filter, use all of the normal core Business Central functionality to filter this list, to sort things, to even share it to teams, share this link to teams so that your colleague can easily see this list, or even cooler, open in Excel, just something you can't get away from. We got an Excel now we can send this over to the warehouse crew and we're good to go. So that is the incoming delivery dashboard. Many other ways to filter that. That's just a nice, easy example. We could filter it down by vendor. We could filter it down by, item number, et cetera, all by using the filter here or the filter up at the top. So I love that one. I think that's really cool. Check it out and let me know what you think. A little bit of screenshots here. This is direct from the publisher. This was helpful for me to say, oh, I need to try this. And it gave me all the info. It was super easy to install. Found the incoming delivery dashboard in my search. And bam, ready to rock and roll. Love the color coding too. Very easy. All right, that dashboard was pretty cool, but let's not forget to take a look at this easy peasy one. Doesn't do much, but it does something pretty cool called key facts. And let's just get right into what this does. So we know that we can navigate to see the implications throughout the system from a document, to see the journal entry, to see the tax ledger entries, to see every entry. But if we go into posted sales invoices, and what this little handy dandy life hack of a free app does is it gives us right on our list the navigate and all of the entries associated with it without the extra keystrokes. So as I move from record to record, I can quickly, easily see what and how many entries are associated with that document. I love that. Simple, elegant, fantastic, real easy to use. Nothing more to it. Solving a problem like that is just a game changer, in my opinion. That's Key Facts. Check that out on the App Source, and love it like I do. What do you think of that? Let me know in the chat, please. Let me know. Okay, so now let's talk about custom fields. This is interesting because, again, this is a common dev request. And there are other folks who have solutions for this. Maybe there's a small fee associated with it, or maybe there's a free trial, but this is free. And so we're going to go into custom fields. And I always want to type customer when I type custom. Anybody else do that? We're going to go to custom field. Why is it not showing up? There we go. Just took a little bit. Come on. Spin the hamster wheel faster. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Custom fields table setup. It came up in no time, right? Okay, let's go in there and take a look. So what I want to do here, I want to have a flag on my customer. This is available for all these tables, all these master records. And I want to have a field on my customer called top 10. There's something I thought of as a good little easy example. Let's go into customer field setup. Here's a list of all the custom elements that we can take. So I just want a yes or no, a slide, a checkbox, if you will, true, false. So we'll come down here to the first one, and we're going to go to, let's see, edit list. And I'm going to go to the first one here. I'm going to call this top 10. And it's basically yes or no. And I'm going to say activate. This is where earlier I think I was getting a little tripped up on where to activate those mandatory fields. It's definitely here in the custom field. So I'm going to go ahead and activate. And it's saved already. Notice the color change. It's bold. That means it's activated. Let's click it again just to be sure. And I'm going to leave this window and go back out to my customer window, my customer list. And before I do anything, just going to check something. I just want you to see something here. And I'm going to do this, let this list load. And you see right away, I've got top 10 available. Now, I would have had to log out and log back in through the magic of this presentation. We skipped that part. But down here under custom fields in our fast tab is the new field that I defined as top 10. I turned it on. And what this extension does is it automatically adds these to your list. So if you've got 2 or 3 of them, maybe a date for reevaluation or credit follow-up or whatever that is, it's going to add it to this list right away, because guess what? You're going to want to filter by it. You're going to want to filter by it. And then you could save that list. So now I have everybody who's flagged for whatever it is. That's custom fields. It's just a simple little example on the customer card. Be sure to check that out for all those other master record areas. I think you're going to like it. Here's what I'm not really going to show in Business Central. Just going to talk about it. I get this question from time to time, often maybe because there was an integration at play, bringing in the GL implications for certain documents, but we still want to track the inventory impact or the activity against the master record. So the question comes in, how do I post a document or close a document without creating the invoice and posting the GL entries? This free app lets you do that. Basically, what you do is you assign reason codes. Do you want the GL and the invoice, or just the invoice, or just the GL, or none? So it gives you the ability to create the document and close it or post it without those secondary things. So I get this question from time to time. Sometimes it's part of a new implementation, where we're bringing in we're bringing in the GL balances as part of the implementation, maybe through Excel import that I showed you earlier. But we still have open documents that we need, open invoices that we need to pay, and we don't want it to affect the GL. So that might be another good use case. What do you think of this? Maybe the controller me might think this isn't a good thing, but there might be good use cases for this. And remember, you can always uninstall an extension after you use it, especially if it's a one-off. So that's closed documents. Check that out. Nice little reason code there. And here we go. So we're getting to the end here. Stay with me. Are you having a good time? I'm having a great time. Company Picture Finder. This one is kind of cool. I saw this one. I thought, what could this possibly be? Basically, what this does, if we go to, let's go to contacts. Yeah, let's go there. Let's go to contacts. Then I'll show you how this works. So I doubt you're going to wind up getting pictures of your vendors, right? Like your accounts, your account manager at one of your vendors. You're likely not going to say, smile so I can put your photo in our ERP system. But this little free extension, what it does is it based on the company name, the email, and the website. Sorry, I'm going back to the customer because I think that's going to be easier to do there. We could do it from the contact as well. But from here, based on the email address and the homepage, is this little extension will search the web and return a match for a company image. So if you look at mine here, I'm going to put in, let's see, http saglobal.com. Now, so I remember I said it's email and homepage. So when I have that, now I can come up to customer picture. Is it there? Let me think for a second. Let me find it. It's under actions. I apologize. Under actions. I mean, I knew that. Find company picture. So I'm going to click find company picture. As long as you have internet, which you clearly should since you're online with Business Central, it's going to go find the logo or an applicable image for that website. I think that's pretty cool. So let's do Bank of America, see if it does it. Oops. I haven't tried this. So let's see. bankofamerica.com. Now, what you have, the trick here is if there's a picture that exists already, it won't replace it. So you have to delete it. That's my mandatory message. And I'm going to go to actions, find company picture. Let's see if it works. Did it not work? Invalid argument. Aren't all arguments invalid? Let's try my LifeHacks website. LifeHacks365.com. And I don't know if you need the HTTP in front. Let's find out. Maybe we have to go to another record. There we go. It didn't like the Bank of America one. Who knew? I guess it didn't like this one either. All right, I'm going to come out. We'll try one more time. Leave this in. Leave this in. Everybody struggles to figure it out, but be determined. When you can't figure it out, be determined because you can get there. I know this will work. I must just be doing something wrong. I don't know what it is. Try it. Try it. Invalid argument. I don't know. Let's move on. Let's move on. I have a screenshot of that working. I know it did. You saw it work for the SA Global. I don't know why. Maybe was I putting it in the wrong field? No. I don't know. Anyway, check that out. I'm sure it'll work for you. I absolutely love that. It was a little quirky there for whatever reason, maybe a little conflict on my mandatory field. Maybe that might be it because not every single extension plays well with one another. And that is exactly why we'll end where we began. Do this in a particularly safe sandbox or test environment, not your production environment, because it's not by company. And that brings us to the end of our session here today for the presentation part here. I want you to be sure to join me and stick around for the live Q&A coming up just on the other side of this break, and my opportunity to say thank you once more for voting me and my session into DynamicsCon yet again. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever else. Stalk me outside if you want. Anyway, that's it about me. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Well, good day, everyone. Thank you again for joining my session. 10 free extensions you should know about. Hopefully you found that helpful at very least. After watching it again, there are just some there that I think are going to be a great addition to everybody's toolbox. So a lot of great content coming direct from the chat here. I'm going to go back through and just talk a little bit about some of these questions and try to cover each one. So as I mentioned, thanks again for joining. I totally appreciate the votes and the participation. So just a disclaimer, some of the content's in there. I'm not a developer. I don't know a lot of the rules for ML and AL extension building and how that works. I know enough to get myself in trouble, as you probably could tell. But one of the questions was, is the Excel journal import an extension, is it working as a connector? So I think of a connector as something that kind of floats out in between the two products. And in this case, that's not it. The import is part of the extension. So the code is driving the import there, unlike what you would experience with Edit and Excel. Hope that answers the question. Next we got is, what's the difference between built-in Excel import and the Excel journal import? You know, there are multi-tabs here. I'm not sure if the built-in does the multi-tabs off the top of my head. I just happened to come across this one and felt like because we could trim down columns and only use what we needed, that was pretty cool. And what are the advantages of this versus the edit in Excel? I don't know. I kind of stumble with the edit in Excel. Anybody else stumble with that? Because sometimes you have to have row ID or something in there that makes it a little more cumbersome. I just thought this was cleaner. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I really did appreciate this one. So why was the emailing in bulk using Outlook? That's a great question. I thought about that too, and I believe it's just because it's invoking the default application on the machine to open the email and paste in the contact email addresses. So that's why, if you noted on that example I showed where we had to move it from the 2 to the BCC to keep that there, I think it's just doing it outside the product. So what did you think about the mandatory fields and electronic signature? Let me know down in the comments here. I didn't get any questions on that. I don't believe anyway. The find and replace question, does it work for posted entries? No, I don't believe it does, or don't believe it would. There might be a small exception on the description for posted journal entries because you can change that. I'd have to test that to see, but worth a shot. I might dig into that. Let's see as we go through here. First, thanks for everybody for helping answer some of these questions. We don't have much time for the Q&A. The presentation will be available on YouTube. You can email me. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Email me if you'd like an advanced version of the PDF for the slide. I know DynamicsCon will be distributing that as well, but I know if you're like me, these are exciting changes that you can take advantage of, and you'd like those links to get to them. So let's see. Excel journal import. Thank you everybody for the nice feedback on the presentation. Jeremy asks, what free apps are on my wish list? Wow, that I will think about that. That's a great one. Great question. I'll have to get back with you on that. Boy, anybody have any free apps that are on their wish list? Put it in the chat over there. Liz says it's hard to share the list in the chat. I think she's talking about the list for the links, etc. But I'll get that if you email me directly. I'll get that to you. So what other questions do we have? I try to keep up. I really appreciate the involvement and the support from the community here. Looks like we got everything covered. I believe so. No other questions. Looks like we're going to call it a day. I hope you have a great rest of the time here at DynamicsCon. Be sure to check out my personal blog site, lifehacks365.com, and I will see you over in the breakout rooms. Thanks again, everyone.